Good evening, Chris. Nice to see you.
Hi. So it turns out that Ashtanga Yoga does not make you live forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm very sorry for that. He lived to the same age as Dogen.
Dogen was 53.
Dogen was also 53. And
That's very
sometimes
interesting.
people are disappointed. How come that it
Yeah,
happens in myself?
it didn't make him live forever.
Like all of these Chinese guys, they live until they're 150, and then Dogen only lives until 53. But yeah, hmm, everything is impermanent. I'm very sorry for that, but yeah, even yoga, even yoga doesn't make you live eternal.
Unfortunately, I guess not.
What do I do today? This?
I think you're around the similar age. I don't want to draw a parallel, but a lot of my teachers, my judo teacher, then Sharath, another yoga teacher, my jujitsu teacher, you're all around similar age groups, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I survived actually Dogen. I'm 56, but when I
Oh,
got close to that age, I was kind of, how do you say, reflecting on that several times, like compared to what Dogen did in 53 years. Like, okay, I was the abbot of Antaiji, but not so much. Of course, it's stupid to compare yourself in the first place, but yeah. And I mean, I don't know, when did Mozart die? There's so many guys out there that only lived until the age of, I don't know, 30 something, and they did a lot of stuff. So it's not about age so much, I think. But again, I mean, who wants to compare themselves to Mozart or Dogen or Charat or whoever?
you're always saying don't compare yourself to
Exactly,
people, I think.
exactly, exactly, yeah. But I mean, it can be, how do you say, opportunity to become a little bit humble.
Mhm.
And we got 8 o'clock. Yeah, it's past 8. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's Monday Zen and Zazen class. Today I will talk about the precious mirror Samadhi, Hokyo Zammai in Japanese. But before that, let's sit together for 30 minutes.
Are you okay?
Yes.
Basically.
I think we want to.
Thank you for joining. So I want to continue to talk about the treasure mirror Samadhi. Let me share the screen with you. This is the text that you always find in the video description. So the first two lines I talked about last time. The Dharma of thusness. And as I said, the word for Dharma, ho, can also in India mean thing. Ho, Dharma. Dharma can mean a thing. This thing, this. Or you could say the Dharma of thusness is intimately transmitted by Buddhas and ancestors. Now you have it, preserve it well. And I try to explain that doesn't mean that's a special teaching that has been transmitted for 2,500 years and now the teaching has arrived here. But it means this place, this moment that we can never leave, the here and now. But in theory, we can be nowhere else. But in reality, our mind is always on the map, so to speak. We're never really seeing the landscape. We also only see ourselves on the map, or what I call playing the game. But an encounter with Zen, or maybe also an encounter with yoga, there are many possibilities to get back into this moment. Oh, this. It's so near, it's so simple. And in that moment, of course, you realize I've always been there. I've always been there, but I needed this opportunity. For example, Rinzai shouting, "Ka!" or hitting you into the face. Or it can be lots of things. You go to the doctor and the doctor tells you, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have only 2 more weeks to live. That can also be an opportunity to wake up. What have I been doing with my whole life until now? I've always been living for the future, but I never lived this moment. Sometimes even this can be an opportunity to wake up to the Dharma of thusness. And let me continue with the next 2 lines. A silver bowl filled with snow, a heron hidden in the moon. The character for bowl in Japanese, you would read it Ginwan ni yuki o mori. This character can mean bowl, but some commentators say it's rather something like a tray. So it could be a silver tray and there's snow falling on the tray. And because both the silver is whitish and the snow is white, you hardly see the difference between the two. And that's a metaphor for what in the past we called the screen. So I'm an actor in the movie of my life, but at the same time I'm also the screen. Or in the past I sometimes drew a circle on a piece of paper and then several small circles inside. Who's the real me? One of the circles inside, or am I the big circle outside? And the answer is both. You can't separate them. When you look in the mirror, is it the person that I see in the mirror that's the real me, or is it the person that's looking? Well, actually they're the same. They're the same, but also they're completely different. And I think that's expressed here with the metaphor of a silver bowl filled with snow, a heron hidden in the moon. For a long time I was a little bit puzzled by this metaphor of the heron hidden in the moon. Let me show you a picture. For example, this one here. if the heron is in front of the moon, because the heron is white and the moon is white, you might think that it's hiding, but of course if it's standing in front of the moon, the heron would be black, so it can't hide there. So maybe in English you have the saying men in the moon. When people look at the moon, for example, parents, they ask their kids, can you see the man there? And after a while you can see a face there, or maybe a whole person. And I don't know if it's the same in China, but in Japan people say there's a rabbit in the moon. And I've never heard about a heron in the moon, but maybe there's a saying that if you look closely at the moon, you see the heron there. But it's kind of sort of the same. So I was a little bit kind of also puzzled. Is the moon representing the screen and the heron is representing the actor in the movie? Or we were talking about absolute truth and relative truth. So in the case of the tray or the silver bowl, I think the bowl would stand for the absolute self, while the snowflakes stand for relative reality. And in the case of the moon, you could say, well, the moon itself is absolute reality, the absolute self, and the heron is the relative self. But on the other side, on the other hand, here it says that the heron is hiding. So you can't see the heron, you only see the moon. And that would point to the other way around. Usually you forget about the absolute self, you forget about the screen, you only see the movie. So if you see the moon but you don't see the heron, that would mean that the moon actually is standing for the relative self. A little bit puzzling, and it's not so important. At the end of the day, it's not really important which is which. It's just that they are connected, but they're also different. And another thing that I wanted to share you, I will put the address into the chat function. This is a website that publishes the teaching of Okumura Shohaku Roshi, who is a Dharma grand uncle of mine. So he is a grand Dharma brother of my teacher's teacher. He studied with Uchiyama Roshi and Antaiji. And 30 years ago, when I first came to Japan, he was still living close to Kyoto. So when I was studying in Kyoto, I went to his temple, and it was through his introduction that I went to Antaiji 30 years ago. Anyway, he's now living in America and Indiana. He's written a couple of English books that I can recommend very much. And here he's talking about a poem. A poem by Dogen Zenji. I was talking with Chris before we started. It's probably, how do you say, only by chance, but Sharat died a week ago. He was very young, 53. Dogen was also 53. Anyway, he wrote this poem which has the Japanese title Laihai. Laihai means prostration, and it goes like this. Fushikusa mo. And Okumura Roshi explains that later in the text. The more popular version of this poem goes Fuyugusa, not Fushikusa. Fuyugusa means winter grass, but he's quoting here a different version. Fushikusa means bent grass, or grass that's lying down. Fushikusa mo mienu yukino no sirasagi wa ono ga sugatani miu kakuしけり, which means in English, grasses lie unseen in the field under the snow. The white heron hides itself in its own appearance. So here it's the heron not hiding in the moon, but in the snow, or in its own appearance. But I'm pretty sure that Dogen Zenji is basically, how do you say, taking all the hints from the first line of the Hokyo Zammai, the precious mirror Samadhi, and makes it into his own poem. Okay, maybe one more line, the fourth line. Taken as similar, they are not the same. Not distinguished, their places are known. So when you look at the mirror, at first you think, well, there's only me. There's only one me. But then when you think about it, actually there's a big difference between this awareness, the consciousness that's seeing, and that one person that you see. They seem to be the same, but actually they are different. But you can also say they're completely different. They are distinguished. But they are not distinguished. They're not distinguished. Their places are known. Each has its place. And you could draw a parallel here to the very famous saying of the Heart Sutra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form would be relative reality, the many small circles, and emptiness would be that one circle which actually doesn't appear anywhere. So I'm talking about the absolute self, but if somebody would ask me, where is this absolute self? I can't show it. It's nowhere. It's nowhere. The absolute self would be the screen. And that, in my view, corresponds to emptiness in the Heart Sutra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Okay, I talked a lot, so maybe Xuan-san can translate for us, and after that, please, if you have questions, things you would like to share, please do so.
我们今天说了后面，我们今天讲宝镜三位歌，然后老师前面稍微回顾了一下之前的几句话，我这儿就不重复了，因为之前讲过了。就之前其实讲的就是我们可能只能在一个地图上面看到自己，很难真正意识到自己。那在瑜伽当中其实也是这样的，我们有很多的方法回到现在。我们虽然总是在现在，但是我们需要一个回到现在的能力。就是比如说在禅修里面，有的时候会大叫，让你意识到你正在现在。或者是你在坐禅的时候，你像那个临济宗会在后面拿着竹条抽你哈，谁睡着了，就是也让你回到现在。还有就是比如说医生告诉你可能只有2周的生命的时候，可能那个时候就是你醒来的时候，让你真正意识到啊，原来我现在正是在现在。我们总是生活在将来，其实我们是有很多的方法是回到现在的，我们需要这个能力。就今天讲的这一句是银碗盛雪，明月藏鹭。老师今天讲的这2句，银碗就好像是那个我们经常说的那个屏幕，盛雪里面那个雪呢，好像就是那个意识中那好像那个就是你自己，就是我们所谓的电影当中那个主人公。那后面说的明月藏鹭，就是一个鹿，刚刚老师看那个图片了哈，一个鹿在一个非常明亮的月亮前面，好像你是看不到它的，前面就是雪呢，放在一个银碗里面，好像你也是看不到的。那这个月亮和那个碗是不是就是我们之前所说的那个大屏幕呢？我们好像面前都有一个大屏幕，然后这个鹿和雪呢，就是我们里面的主角，就是我们2个呢是非常这个银碗雪，还有明月，还有月亮和这个鹿，它是相关的，但同时也是分开的。就是无方禅师之前在安泰寺的时候，他刚到安泰寺的时候，有另外一个禅师非常有名，他现在在美国的印第安纳，一个日本人叫奥村。然后我之前也买过这个老师的书，他的书写的挺好的，就是他之前写过一首诗叫做《礼拜》，然后大概意思就是说冬天的草，然后有一个版本写的是，其实就是这些躺在地上的这些草，看不见的这些草呢，被雪覆盖住，是被雪藏住了，还是说它显现在了雪当中？就是这个地面上的冬天的这个草上面有雪，被雪盖住了，它是藏在雪里面了，还是说它被雪显现出来了？ 大概其实这个意思啊，就是我们其实一直是有一个我的，但是这一个我呢，又是不同的。一个是我们意识当中的你自己，另外一个是你看到的自己。我们能否意识到你看到的那个就是你自己呢？其实就是我们修行的这个过程，就好像我们之前说色即是空，空即是色是一样的。这个形和它的这个形是空的，但是同样这个空的也是它的形状。我们能不能意识到这两个我？然后大家有没有什么问题可以提啊？
Okay, thank you. If you have questions, comments, anything you would like to share, you're welcome to do so. Let me change to gallery view. Any questions? No questions?
May I, please,
Yes,
Julian?
Gleb, please, and Julian after that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, no questions, and at this time, I just wanted to share a point. I don't know how much value it has, but there was a clear thought that came to my mind during today's session that I am the screen. That movies about my life are being shown in the automatic mode, and I can't recall if I ever encountered this metaphor before, and I'm so excited by the fact that you're now talking about this, and the weird and interesting connection between the session and the discussion. Sorry to take that much of your time.
I think it's a quite common metaphor in the spiritual world, so I'm certainly not the only one. And I've been using the metaphor quite a lot. Of course, there's a danger now if you develop a concept of I'm the screen and I'm the actor, I'm both, or the real me is the screen. The danger being that, well, you make a picture of the screen, but that picture is also on the screen. So at one point we need to let go of this idea of me being the screen. But I'm trying to kind of, well, help a little bit or make a hint of these two aspects. And in Zen you would say both are real. So it's not that the actor in the movie is unreal and the screen is real. They're both real, but they're completely contradictory at the same time.
May I quickly add a point to this discussion? Really, sorry, Julian. So if we say that everything is real, the screen, the movie, the heron, the moon, and so on, how does it relate to Heart Sutra, which basically says that everything is empty and nothing is real?
Yeah, but that's only one half. Heart Sutra says form is emptiness. Everything is empty, but then emptiness is form. So this emptiness manifests as these relative phenomena. So the Heart Sutra doesn't say relative phenomena only seem to be real. In reality, it's only emptiness. But it also says what seems to be emptiness, in reality, it's real phenomena, or at least that's how I understand the Heart Sutra. Actually, when was it? About a year ago, I also talked in these Monday classes about the Heart Sutra. So for me, it corresponds. And for me, the Heart Sutra says emptiness is just as real as phenomena. Or if you call them illusion, then phenomena are just as illusionary as emptiness. It's not that one is real and the other is an illusion. They're both real. Or you could say they're both an illusion. You need to let go of both concepts, phenomena and emptiness. Okay, Julian, I think you also raised your hand.
I was just thinking about the line about the snow falling in the silver bowl and how powerful it is. And,
Yes.
you know, we're always tempted to try and make conceptual, intellectual understanding of these lines. But I was just thinking how important it is to let that image resonate, and rather than trying to understand it, because with my writer's hat on, I think, wow, I wish I had written that line, because it is so powerful
Yes.
if you don't try and understand it and just let it, just see the snow falling in the bowl, and yeah, just stand out line. That's what I wanted to comment. Thank you.
Yeah, one thing that's powerful about that image, it's not simply the snow here and the silver bowl there, but it's snow that continues to fall. And that can also be an image for our Zazen practice. For example, you sit and it's like falling snow, and a week later, or maybe already tomorrow, you sit again. Is it the same practice? Is it something different? How do you say, stack up your practice? Are you getting closer to something? It's like snow falling on snow. It's never the same, but also there's no real progress. Or maybe in the beginning of our Zazen practice, it feels like we are progressing. And you see, at first the ground was green and now it's all white. Oh, wow, it's so white. But then it continues to snow and snow and snow. And maybe it's getting deeper, but you don't even realize anymore. But in Antaiji, at one point around February, it stopped snowing. And when it stops to snow, but you already have 2 meters of snow, for a couple of weeks there's still snow, but you see the difference. When it doesn't snow anymore, the surface turns gray and dirty. It's the same with Zazen, when you think, well, I already know what it's all about. I got into contact with the screen, everything. Why would I bother to practice? There's this old saying of after you cross the river, you don't need the boat anymore. And Zazen is like the boat. So you stop sitting, and that's like it's stopping to snow. For a while, it still looks quite white, but actually it's only white because it's snowing and snowing and snowing. It's never the same snow, but it always looks completely the same. So this image of snowing, continual snowing, I think that's what makes the metaphor so strong. Not only the tray, the silver tray or the silver bowl and the snow, but also the continuous snow. Tanya, please.
I don't know if there is also an English saying like that, but one of the first lines I've ever heard, which said, oh, it's from the Zen tradition, was the snowflakes are falling each on its place or position. Do you know the English translation for that saying?
Well, it's basically as you said, each snowflake falls exactly into the place where it belongs, into its position.
Do you know where it comes from?
I have no idea where it comes from. No. I heard
Me
it
neither.
before, but yeah, I have no idea.
I didn't have any idea of Zen when I heard that first, but it sounds so attractive, so magic. So yeah, I had to know more about it, but I didn't know how, and yeah, it took a few more years. That when I first heard that line, it took a few more years until I met first with Zen. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It probably has nothing to do with Zen or with this saying, but whenever I kind of hear this phrase of snowflakes each falling into their exact place, I'm reminded of this Canadian hard rock punk band. The name was No Means No, and they have a song or a record that was called Small Parts Isolated and Destroyed. It has nothing to do with this, but it's an interesting song. But yeah, again, it has nothing to do with the snowflakes. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to share? We still have a couple of minutes, but I think originally when we started, when Xuan-san and I started a couple of years ago, officially it was from 8 to 8:50. So actually we don't have to do it until 9 each time. Actually 8:50 is good enough. So if you have no other questions, no other things you would like to share, I would like to thank you for joining. Thank you to Xuan-san for hosting us here every week and translating. Next week I'm gonna go back to this book, To You by Sawaki Roshi. So I wish you a nice week and hope to see you again.
Hi. Julian, do you have a minute? You're an author, you said?
What I do is I collect stories from Japan and bring them to the young people of Europe at the moment, particularly stories of recovery and ghost stories. And but I'm trying to inject into them a bit of Zen flavor, so kids are getting Zen without realizing they're getting it.
Great.
That's my job.
Wow, cool. Interesting. I thought when you are talking, you're British, aren't you?
Mm.
And do you know the British Zen master Henry Shukman, who also is an author?
No, I don't. Maybe Joseph does. Joseph's better informed on these things than me.
It's too kind. Was it Henry Shipman? Did you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. I just listened to his
know.
biography. You don't have heard of him. I just listened to his biography of audiobook. He has spoken it himself in, so I'm so used to listening to this kind of Oxford English. He's from Oxford, I think, and he's a poet and an author, and his writing is quite beautiful.
Oh, I'll look him up. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
What did you say his name was?
Shukman, Henry Shukman. I'll write down in the chat just a minute.
Yeah, I heard it wrong, and I just Googled the name I thought I heard, and it came up like a serial killer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the serial killer joke. Oh, Shukman. Okay.
Shukman, yeah, he's living in New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico. But he moved there. He's originally from Oxford, I think. And at the moment, I'm quite in with him as I'm listening to his audiobooks. And right now he has 2 books, one his biography and one Original Love, it's called, where he points out the 4 Inns of Awakening. Like he thinks his experience on the path is summarized, and yeah, he's a Sanbo Zen teacher. And I'm also in the Sanbo Zen lineage, so I get along well with his kind of teaching. So yeah.
Oh, well, check it out. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day and have a good week. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
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 Good week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.